Hello friends, hope all of you are doing well. In today's session, we are going to continue our journey on metaphysical poetry. Basically, in the previous session, I have discussed a particular piece by John Donne, that is The Flea. And in today's session, we are going to discuss a different poem by John Donne, Twickenham Garden. So this particular piece is also very important from an examination perspective. So without doing any more delays, let's get started with the video. So a frequent question that comes in the mind of the students of IGNOU in particular, that is from the MEG, that do we need to purchase reference books or guidebooks of any sort in order to prepare for our exams apart from the books that we have? For that regard, I would just honestly be very frank with you all, and I'll just ask you one thing, that all of you have the textbooks that IGNOU provides, but how many of you really go through the books? So I'll just say, and I'll just assume that it will be just be a couple or a handful of them. So I would highly recommend that you go ahead and purchase the reference books, because it does help you. In that regard, we also have guidebooks from or reference books from different publication house, that is Neeraj publication, Varun publication, or Gali Baba. You can purchase any one of them, whichever suits you or whichever suits your needs. All of them are equally good, but yes, in some, I will say that in particularly Neeraj publication, also the previous year solved question papers are there. So you can buy any of them, and for that reason I have providing the links of the books that you can click and you can directly purchase it. So the links of those books you can purchase are given in the description. So do go ahead and make your first purchase so that it helps you in your term and examination, and I wish you all the luck. So as the tradition of our session goes, let us discuss some of the major key points of this particular poem. So Twickenham Garden by John Donne is a metaphysical poem that expresses the speaker's anguish after being deceived by a lady in love. The poetic persona of the poem, Donne's poetic self, roams around the Twickenham garden with a heavy heart. An emotionless lady has betrayed him in love. So basically, as a reader, what we're gonna have in this particular poem is that a heartbroken person is roaming around a garden to find some solace, to find some peace, because he has been betrayed by a lady with whom he was in love with. Now, it was probably addressed to the Countess Lucy of Bedford, for whom Donne had a profound admiration. Now, let us talk about the themes. Now, here there are several themes like frustration, anguish, love, appearance versus reality, and natural beauty. So, the poem starts with blasted with sighs and surrounded with tears. Hither I come to seek the spring, and at mine eyes and at mine ears receive such balms as else cure everything. Now here what is happening is that Donne's poem Twickenham Garden is beginning with the portrayal of the speaker's mind. Now whatever is going in the speaker's mind, we as a reader will be able to see it. The narrator of the poem is blasted with the sighs and his mind surrounded by emotional thoughts. Now right from the very beginning, we can understand that the speaker is in deep anguish, and he has visited this garden in order to find some peace. Now for this reason, he comes to the garden in order to get some peace and also in order to pacify his burning heart. Moreover, the natural setting of the garden balms his eyes, and the soothing natural sound rings softly in his ears. But oh, self-traitor, I do bring the spider love, which transubstantiates all and can convert manna to gall, and that this place may thoroughly be thought true paradise I have serpent pot. Now in the second part of the first stanza, what we can see is like a little bit of negative approach has been taken by the speaker. Here the poet uses the conceit of the spider love that according to him can convert manna to gall. Now let me give you there is actually a biblical reference here. Manna is actually a substance which was converted to food for the Jewish people. So it's a biblical reference that has been given here. As we know that John Donne is considered to be one of the most famous metaphysical poets, so he does that. So here we find a very beautiful biblical reference. So here after we see that the feeling of love is just like a spider. Now we know that spider is often treated with negative sense. It's treated negatively. So here the feeling of love is treated like a spider that feeds on manna of insects, and its body turns it into gall. Now that is what it is being said, that the love is being compared to a negative element here, the gall using which it kills its prey. For this reason, the emotion is like a traitor in itself. Now we can understand that When the poet or the author here is calling himself a traitor, he is considering himself a traitor because he brought the feelings and the emotions of love with him in this beautiful place. That's why he is calling himself the traitor. Moreover, the poet uses another conceit of the serpent of Eden to compare it with love. Now again, we can see that another reference has been given from the Bible, that is the serpent in the paradise. Now this particular serpent is again a negative element, which we can see that that reference was been taken from the Eden, Garden of Eden. Okay, as the speaker has this emotion in his heart, his sole presence ironically makes a garden a true paradise. So the second paragraph starts with something like this: "'Twere wholesome for me that winter did benight the glory of this place, and that a grey frost did forbid these trees to laugh and mock me to my face." Now in the second stanza, what we see is that the speaker says that it was wholesome for him if winter beneath the glory of the place, and grey frost covered the trees of the garden. Now, why the speaker is trying to say that such a beautiful place should be covered with frost and snow? It is because he wants the trees that is in the garden to stop laughing at him and stop mocking at him. Now obviously in reality it's not possible. We know that the trees and the plants are the silent creatures, they cannot make noise, but it's the disgrace that is in the heart of the speaker which lets him feel that everything around him is making fun of him because he has been dejected by the person whom he loves dearly. "But that I may not this disgrace endure, nor yet leave loving love, let me some senseless piece of this place be." Now in this next three lines of the second stanza, we can see about the disgrace that I was just talking about. It's the speaker talking about the shame that he has felt because of the dejection and the rejection that he has faced in the hands of his love. Now we can see that the speaker is very much in a disturbed state of mind, and in this state of mind he is very much ashamed of himself, and he is just exclaiming this that he is not able to take the disgrace any longer, and so he wants that the nature should convert him into some senseless piece because he regards this particular garden very highly, and he feels that everything in this garden has a certain sense of meaning, and so he wants to be converted himself into a senseless piece of that particular place and be a part of that nature. "Make me a mandrake so I may grow here, or a stone fountain weeping out my ear." In the last two lines, the speaker wants to be a mandrake so he may grow there, or a stone fountain weeping out his memories of the past. It is important to mention here that the mandrake plant, also known as mandragora, was used in folk medicines for good health. So the speaker just wants to be of some help out here, okay, even after he is turned into some voiceless plant. So coming to the last stanza of the poem, that is Twickenham Garden, here John Donne says, "Hither with crystal fields lovers come, and take my tears which are love's wine." Now here what is happening is that the speaker refers to the lovers who come to that place with crystal fields. Now what is the meaning of fials? Fials is a type of small glass container. Okay, so previously we have seen that he had wished to be a fountain, and here we see that in a fountain what happens is that the water in the fountain is compared to his tears. Alright, "And try your mistress' tears at home, for all are false that taste not just like mine." Alright, so here what is happening is that whatsoever the lovers come to collect the fountain water, actually that are compared to his tears, the poet metaphorically compares this water to love's wine. Okay, so what he is saying that once he is converted to this fountain, the water that will be coming out of that fountain is basically his tears which he is letting go of his love, and this is nothing other than love's wine. And he asks the lover to compare it with his mistress' tears. Okay, so he is actually challenging the other lovers to compare it with their respective mistress tears. Now that person will find that the tears of his beloved are nothing in comparison to the fountain water or the speaker's tears. "Alas, hurts do not in eyes shine, nor can you more judge woman's thought by tears than by her shadow what she wears." Now here the poet uses an epigram in this line. Now we all know what is an epigram. Epigram is basically an idea which the authors or the poets use in order to express an idea in a very clever or amusing way. So in this particular line, that is, alas hearts do not in eyes shine, he is trying and using an epigram. Now what is happening is that it means one cannot read one's true emotions from the eyes. Okay, the speaker has done so and found it to be a mistake. As I already told you from the beginning of the poem, that the poet was heartbroken here because he was rejected by the person, by the lady whom he loves. So he is saying that the tears in the eyes of his beloved or a woman cannot be trusted. That's why he is there in his lonely walk through the Twickenham garden. Apart from that, he says that none can judge a woman's thought by tears or by her shadow, what she wears. Now here, what shadow stands for is the emotions, specifically the soft tones. The last two lines of the poem goes something like this: O perverse sex, where none is true but she, who's therefore true because her truth kills me. So lastly, the speaker ironically refers to the woman as perverse sex. So what is happening here is that she was not truthful to him. So when he came across this fact, the reality started to torture him. As I told you that the author was in a lot of anguish and he felt a lot of disgrace. Now using this hyperbole means exaggerated statement. Okay. Now what he says is that who's therefore true because her truth kills me. So this is the video, guys. I hope you had an insight regarding this very beautiful piece of metaphysical poetry written by Donne, that is Twickenham Garden. In case if you have any other difficulty understanding any particular part of this particular poem or any other piece of literature, do feel free to comment in the comment section. I'll definitely try to address it in the next video. And also do check out the notes and analysis of this particular session that is given in the description, the link of which is given in the description. And of course, do purchase the reference books or the guidebooks, be it Neeraj publication, the Varuns or the Gully Baba. The link of all the books I have given in the description. So be smart and get the books so that you can have a smart approach for your term and examinations. Till we meet next time, God bless you and thank you all.